Yeah, greatest. So my new man. So another message I find, I told you I'm gonna be dropping bangers for my podcast. So my title, I just want to make the topic a little bit, the title a little bit catchy. You know, it says African messengers in our hometown. So you know what I mean by this is African messengers in Africa or African messengers from Africa. And what do I mean by an African messenger? So to break this down, anybody who's spreading good works about Africa, anybody who's fighting against a system in Africa, unifying Africans, that can be linked into anything. It could be political, it could be whatever. And where I'm driving this from is, I'm not limiting it only to government or politics. I'm extending it. It's a broad topic. I'm extending it. So let me start here. I want to start first from my first country of ancestry, origin, Ghana. So we had a very powerful voice, in the 20th century. He's such an honorable man that right now I have to, or just honor him, a man of the century, Kwame Nkrumah. I have my Ghana jersey here, so I have my Ghana jersey here. It's such an honor, to talk about Kwame Nkrumah, Some of you in my podcast have seen me wearing the Ghana jersey before. So let me talk about this. So I'm not talking about only Kwame Nkrumah. I'm talking about the whole of African leaders, So if I was talking about Kwame Nkrumah, then I would have, it would be a whole Ghana topic. So that means I would have, wear the Ghana jersey throughout the video. But this is extending to, the whole of Africa. So that's why I think representing the whole of Africa, this is the best I can come up with. And with the African map, So Africa, that includes, that Ghana is part of it. So I'm not talking about only other African countries. Ghana is part of it. So my first version, let me focus on Ghana for now. And then I can talk about other African countries. So as I told in my podcast, the reason why I have to involve a little bit of, faith issue or religion into it is that, as I said, a lot of African people are religious. Most of them are Christians, most of them are Christians and other faiths, but mostly, that Christianity is something big in Africa. So I wanna, since African Christians, I would say that most of them are not renewed in their mind. Most of them, the way they see their own African countries is so sad, and this is sensitive that I have to be real with you. The Christianity that was brought in Africa, can I say that we didn't really get the Christianity that we're supposed to receive? But the missionaries who came to Africa rather gave us a Christianity that was more of a miseducation and a westernized form of Christianity. So that's why sometimes the African Christian cannot even relate to his African identity through the Christian lens. It is because of the narrative that have been pushed down. And can I tell you that you can be a Christian and still be an African? You can. But as I said, sometimes too it's a clash. You have to now choose side, which one you really belong to. So my podcast, I said that be transformed by the renewing of the mind. And and when you check my first podcast, I gave you a glimpse into all these issues. So African messengers in a home. That's the most catchiest, topic, title I can give. So let's go into details. So in the book of Luke, the Messiah Yeshua had encounters with his own people. And then Yeshua told them that, a prophet, a messenger, or whatever you call it, is of no honor. It's not of honor. Honor, that includes not of respect, it's not value, it's not being cherished in his own country, And this is being said that those Israelis were rejecting the messenger, and they could not relate with the messenger because what the messenger is preaching, the Israelis didn't like it. It's so, it's so like, it is so like, for them, it's too much for them. So that's how you had the Pharisees and, other religious leaders who were trying to sabotage the Yeshua and trying to find means to take him down. And I can link this to our African leaders, the like of Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. Propaganda by Africans who hate themselves, African sellouts. The coonery. I don't want to use some words here, I want to keep it, nice, So yeah, the coonery battle-licking puppets of the Western world who are being used against their own brothers and sisters, Kwame Nkrumah, a man who was a messenger, a messenger with no honor, no value. Now, it's taking time that people who are realizing the truth come to know that Kwame Nkrumah was not a bad person. The lies that they have been spreading about Kwame Nkrumah is not true. So please, check out with, so when Kwame Nkrumah was still in presidency, he wrote books. So Ghanaians, I'm gonna talk about books that to change the African mind. I'll do a whole podcast about that version too. So book to change the African mindsets. I'm gonna include Kwame Nkrumah books that you guys need to get. So Kwame Nkrumah wrote books, The Stages of the Newer Colonialism, Africa Unites. Kwame Nkrumah also wrote a book that talks about Congo crisis. Kwame Nkrumah wrote a lot of books. The Dark Days in Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah wrote that book too. The Dark Days in Ghana, I don't have the book, but for the research I've done based upon, it talks about the coup and all the craziness that happened in Ghana when Nkrumah was overthrown, So, as I said, a prophet or messenger not being honored in his, ancestral land or country of origin, I can link this to colonialism and what happened in the past. Like we had Kwame Nkrumah, and many people find ways to take down this great man down, discrediting Kwame Nkrumah, saying he's a bad person, like whatever you can think of, whatever negative, mindset you could think of Kwame Nkrumah, crucify him, when he doesn't even deserve to be crucified. What Kwame Nkrumah went through, it cost Kwame Nkrumah's life, standing in fighting for Ghana's liberation and the whole of Africa. It cost Nkrumah's life. And before Nkrumah passed away, he said there's no denial that the torch that he have lighted, Kwame Nkrumah talks about a torch he lighted during his times, and he even living the world. The torch he left behind, other like minds like me and other people watching the narrative who pick up that torchlight, who continue the path of Nkrumah. And that's what I'm doing, here on the media spaces too. And so are many people. We had Wadimaya, big ups to you, Wadimaya, and other, young Africans. And also we have Sister Denta Amwati also doing. We have a lot of, lovely people here, media spaces doing. A Nigerian sister, Deschamps too, is doing that as well. We have many like minds. We have Tayo Ayena. Brother Tayo Ayena is in Portugal right now. Big ups to yourself, Brother Tayo Ayena. He's a Nigerian YouTuber. He's also changing the negative narration of Africa. There's a whole lot of YouTubers I listen to, which I cannot mention everybody's name, but you know yourself. Big up to yourself. African Tigress is doing a great job. Big up yourself. My Kenyan sister is doing a great job changing the negative narration of Africa. And so, yeah, African messages in a home, so a prophet is not honored in his, own country or his homeland. So that is our African leaders, true leaders who have the nation at heart. You look at Tanzania, you have Julius Nyerere. Look at what's happened with Julius Nyerere. A prophet not honored his hometown. Look at how the Western colonial powers, try to get rid of him. We have in Guinea, Sekou Touré. Look at what happened to Sekou Touré. Look at DR Congo, Patrice Lumumba. Look at what happened to Patrice Lumumba. The Belgians getting him out of the way. In Nigeria, we had liberators like Fela Kuti, and Fela Kuti too was a great person. Look at what they did to Fela Kuti. Many assassination attempts. Kwame Nkrumah to many such assassination attempts. So any person who was speaking the truth, Egypt's Gamal Nasser, look at what happened to him. Ahmed Bella of Algeria, look at what happened to him. A whole lot of people. Yeah, even Yasantua, Mama Yakagbe, and in that Inyala too, Mama Queen Nzenga of Angola too. For the African heroes who are fighting against injustice, I can mention names to take me the next day. So that should give you a glimpse that we have to do better as a continent. We have to honor our heroes. The Western world honors this. So Africans, we have to honor our heroes. Many heroes who build civilization, kingdoms, even political spaces, those who laid out their life. Even in South Africa, we have Winnie Mandela, Nelson Mandela, and a whole lot of people. Steve Biko, too, of South Africa. Malcolm X, a whole lot, Martin Luther King. A lot of people who were speaking the truth. So there's a hard time that Africa diaspora needs to do better. So we need to do better as an African people to honor our, messengers and prophets. So as I refer to the book of Luke, it talks about a prophet, a messenger, not honored in their country. People will ask him, why do we have to involve religion in here? But I have to tell you that whatever that is available, we have to use it. So what do I mean by this statement is, you have African people who are religious, deeply into religion, and they don't know what is going on, that they have to love the African identity. And for them, the African identity and their faith, they cannot relate in any way. But I have to tell them that you can still be an African. You can still be of your faith and still love your African self. That's what I'm trying to do. Educate them, So I cannot end this message without talking about Bob Marley's song, the Redemption Song. Oh, pirates, yes, they rob I. And then when you go to details, would you help me sing the song of freedom? Is all I ever have. Redemption songs. Redemption song. And my favorite part is, how long shall they kill our prophets whilst we stand there and look? Some says it's part of it. We gotta fulfill the book. I love reggae music. So, reggae music is powerful music. I told you in my podcast that you can listen to a reggae music and not be a revolutionalist. It goes in line with it. So Bob Marley too was a messenger, but guess what? A Muzungu, Ubruni took him down. So, hey, let us love one another and we can do better, For me, I know I'm passionate about African, thing, but sometimes I can be wild, I can go off and on. But sometimes I come to realize that you can't speak the message of truth whilst you are hard on people. You spread a message based on love and patience. Sometimes you have to have patience with people. Have a spirit. Have a spirit that feels like a welcoming spirit. A spirit when you spread a message, you have to give the healing vibe. I come to realize they are being traumatized. So they are being enslaved mentally, and you cannot spread the message of truth without, sending them healing vibe, speaking a message that can, heal them and free them. You have to give them that assurance. But if you go off and on and you come with punchline, you come with, want to do this, that's they might think you are extremist, but that's not it. Hey, I'm not glorifying myself, but I'm the most sweet brother I can ever come across. But because of I speak the truth, I might sound as, a controversial person. But when it comes to the truth, that's how I must sound. So, as I said, it's not everybody's going to like this message. It's not everybody's going to be supportive of my podcast. That's fine. But you're not going to stop me when it comes with my people being free and spreading the message of wisdom and liberation. Africa unites. This is our time. The African redemption, glorious century. And yes, we have to restore what the canker web have lost. And this is the time for Africa to restore whatever you have lost. And that's then the message of liberation. Peace out.